Radical.
Sometimes we do things for some shits and giggles, and I couldn't resist the shits and giggles I get from clicking on a Dreamcastguy upload. It's entertaining to me. Like, not because he's entertaining specifically, but just getting through the upload is what you call an entertaining chore of sorts. I mean, come on. The guy, he is just so funny to listen to, isn't he? It's not just the way he talks, the pauses, but the fact. I can't even do it anymore. So it's too funny, man. It's just too funny, right? He is what you call a Sony fanboy. He is a huge Sony fanboy. Like, there's people that like Sony, that are fans of Sony, but this guy, he's over the level to where I would say not fan, but fanboy. And part of being a Sony fanboy for the PlayStation is automatically, instantly hating on anything that has to do with Nintendo or Xbox. Or maybe specifically more Xbox, you know? So I think it's kind of weird how you have fanboys that are fanboys of game consoles. I've always wondered why seemingly people will go to bat and be huge fans of these plastic boxes run by these corporations that ultimately don't give much of a fuck about you. They just want your money. They don't care about taking care of you. They'll do just enough to get you into their ecosystem. So I've never been a fanboy of specifically any gaming company. I've liked and disliked different game systems that have come out from different companies, but I've never rah-rah sis boom bah for a particular company over another company. Also, I am not afraid to call out equally Nintendo, Microsoft, or Sony when they do things that I think personally is messed up or anti-consumer. I think everyone should be that way. Everyone. So, you know, put down your fanboy hats, put down your PlayStation hats, and objectively look at how things are for PlayStation concerning one thing. The fact that they're putting Helldivers 2 on an Xbox. Those dirty, dirty Xbox consoles that the Sony PlayStation fanboys would never touch in a million years. How does it feel? How does it feel? These same people that were jumping up, rah-rah, sis boom bah, talking about the end of Xbox. Xbox is dead. And granted, things don't look that great over at Xbox, but I would say it's far from dead. It's not a situation where it's like the Ouya or the end of the Dreamcast or Sega. Some people are equating it to that. I'm like, no. There's still like a lot of people that are in Xbox's ecosystem. And if that wasn't the case, then why the hell is Sony making the decision to publish Helldivers 2, to put their property? It's not a third-party game. Like, Sony owns Helldivers. They're making the decision to put this game on Xbox systems. Some people are saying, like, well, why are you throwing Xbox a bone? You're clearly leading in the console sales race, or all the numbers and the sales, the figures. You're clearly leading over Xbox. Why are you throwing them a bone? Why are you helping them? Maybe it's because of this. And this might be hard for a lot of you to understand, but Sony likes making money. You know, money, right? So sometimes you might want to actually play ball with the other side if there's money to be made. Now, Xbox started this because they started putting games like Forza Horizon, sending them over to PlayStation, to which the point every PlayStation fanboy was jumping up and down, going crazy, talking about how this means the end of Xbox, and they're going third party, and they're putting all their games on the PlayStation. There's no longer going to be any game systems they're coming out with. None. No. Xbox is over. It's done. Well, keep that same motherfucking energy for the fact that a huge, I'm not talking about like a side game. I'm not talking about like a side game. Possibly the biggest game from PlayStation in the last year or so, Helldivers 2, is going now to its rival, if you believe that now, if they're still rivals, rival system. Sounds like they want to make some money. Sounds like when Microsoft decided to put Forza Horizon 3, was it, over on the PlayStation systems, they're looking at like, damn, a lot of people are downloading Forza Horizon. For Horizon, a lot of people that never got a chance to play Forzas on PlayStation systems are totally wanting to play that game. And the same thing will happen with Gears, with Halo, anything that Microsoft decides to be nice enough to send over to PlayStation, they're going to eat that shit up because it's something different. It's games that they've never played before. And also, it's really funny for Sony fanboys when they see that these games are selling very well on the PlayStation. Not everyone's a Sony fanboy is what I'm saying. You're part of a super small sliver of people. Now, we can argue that systems and consoles need to have their exclusives. And I've actually said before that I believe consoles need to have console exclusives. I do believe that. So, part of me is for consoles competing back and forth. I think we get the best when consoles compete back and forth. You know, we get the best exclusive games. But that's not the landscape anymore. Between Microsoft and Sony, at least. There's positives and negatives here. But a lot of people look at the positives like, well, damn, what if there's a situation where any game that comes out for Microsoft or Sony is going to be on both systems, and then all I got to do is choose between the system and the controller and the ecosystem that I want. Maybe the exclusive battle now will be the hardware, the controller, and it's maybe not about exclusive games. And honestly, it's not like it was 10, 15 years ago. There's not a ton of exclusive games coming down the line. You compare this time in the life cycle of the Series X and the PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox One and the PS4, which many people pointed to not having as many exclusives as the 360 and the PlayStation 3. Steadily, it seems like since that generation, we've had less and less and less big-time exclusives. And exclusives that come out being delayed or underwhelming. But Helldivers is not that case. Helldivers is a very, very popular game that honestly seems like it would fit right perfectly in the Xbox ecosystem. Because you got to think, when it comes to live, when it comes to, well, single-player experiences, role-playing games, stuff like that, that's always seemingly, I think, been connected to the PlayStation brand. When it comes to online shooters, other than PC, you know, you got Gears, you got Halo. It's more of like an Xbox thing. So it seems like a natural fit, I would say, for an online shooting game, kind of like Helldivers, to be on the Xbox. Now I don't know if I briefly mentioned here the component of Dreamcastguy. Yeah, I'll get to Dreamcastguy here. If I didn't start this out talking about Dreamcastguy, then here's the part where I'm talking about Dreamcastguy. My apologies to some of you that wanted me to talk all about Dreamcastguy in this upload. I had to get my thoughts out of the way before this. I think it's very telling that one of the biggest Sony fanboys currently on YouTube in Dreamcastguy put it in his title, Helldivers coming to Xbox, but spent all of 5 fucking seconds talking about it. He had 12 minutes that was just basically objectively bashing Xbox for 12 minutes, and then 5 seconds was devoted to one bit of good news for people on Xbox, that a treasured Sony game in Helldivers is actually coming over to Xbox. Now, we're to believe that he already had everything planned out, everything, and he did not have the time, I guess, from his main job, which is, oh, wait, he doesn't actually have a day job, does he? Okay, so, like, he didn't have the time to add at least a couple minutes talking about the huge story that Sony is now publishing games that they're putting their games on the Xbox systems now, starting with Helldivers. Because this is how it works. It's not just one game, dipping your toes in the water, Xbox saying, well, right now, it's just 4 games. It's Sea of Thieves and a couple others. We're just testing the waters here. No, if you're testing the waters, you're submerging yourself in the water. There's no such thing as testing the waters. Usually people say that, like, no, they actually have a decision that they're putting their entire body underwater. They're not just, no. You have an intention to go swimming. All right? And these two, Sony and Microsoft, they're swimming together. They might be doing choreographed swimming. They might be in a hot tub together, all right? So I'm not going to say I feel bad for Xbox and Sony fanboys that, to this point, their whole existence has been based around cheering and rah-rah sus-boom buying for one particular plastic box over the other. They're together. Sony and Microsoft, they're in a relationship, all right? As dirty as that seems and sounds, yes, they're now in a relationship. They're trading, they're swapping games back and forth. So right now it seems actually kind of like a brilliant move from Microsoft to actually start all this, because, you know, Microsoft sees, kind of like a Trojan horse, Microsoft sees, like I said, that Forza Horizon is doing very good on their system, so they're like, damn, we want some extra money. We'll pay Helldivers over there, like I said. Back to Dreamcast. Back to Dreamcastguy. I think it's very convenient to see him gloss over and just skip over that little nugget, little big juicy nugget that he could have spent a long time talking about. He could have spent a long time talking about it, covering it from different angles, and trying to figure out why Sony is now putting games over on Xbox. Oh, but here's the problem, though. If he has everything set up on his channel, if he has everything pointing to, and he's trying to get people to believe that Xbox is actually a dead company, okay, like, it's not, things are not going the best, all right? They fired a lot of people, all right, but they're not dead. And if anything, this is proof that they're a very viable gaming platform. Sony thinks so. Sony, who's in the lead right now versus them, and it's not even close, but Sony thinks that there's so many players that are in that ecosystem, they can't not choose to make money by sending their game over to Xbox. I just don't, I mean, I get it. I just don't believe how someone like Dreamcastguy can actually just accept that maybe they're not 100% right on this whole Xbox is dead thing. Maybe everything they've built themselves up as a PlayStation Sony pony fanboy, they gotta, it's hard to admit that you're wrong, I guess is what it is. And this blindsided a lot of people. A lot of people didn't see this coming. Microsoft probably had this deal set several months back with Sony. They just didn't reveal it until now. So it's funny if you're looking at like Microsoft, which it is shitty that they laid off so many people. And I want to add in here that Phil Spencer had like a little speech or a statement where he talked about how Xbox is really positive going to the future, and that was mostly just for the shareholders and everything. don't get it twisted. I mean, Microsoft's a pretty shitty company, definitely. But I just think it's hilarious to see someone like Dreamcastguy in a upload that was 12 solid minutes of bashing on Xbox have 5 seconds where he's like, I just got this news that, I just couldn't work in. Well, he worked it in, which I don't get it. It's like he wanted to gloss over it, is what I think. That's because it doesn't make sense for it not to be a separate upload unless he is just so dedicated. Like if it was a Microsoft game coming to PlayStation, that motherfucker would have 15 uploads talking about it. If a new Halo game came over to PlayStation, oh my god, he'd be jumping up and down going fucking crazy. But a Sony PlayStation game going over to Xbox, whether or not it just personally hurts him as a Sony fanboy, and he's trying to hide the hurt by just using 5 seconds of his time, again, that he has plenty of time. Don't think that he doesn't have all the time in the fucking world, because this guy's a YouTuber. All he does is talk about video games on YouTube. He's got plenty of time. Yeah, I think that's all I got to say about this pretty much. I spent more time talking about Helldivers 2. And I'm not even a professional gaming YouTuber like Dreamcastguy. I'm not even a professional. And I spent more time talking about it than he did. It's kind of like it's disappointing, isn't it? Because one final thing, if your job is talking about gaming news on YouTube, then you should be fired from your job if you only spend 5 seconds talking about a huge development in the fact that Sony is now putting games on the rival Xbox system. Oh, you'll spend all day talking about Forza or Gears coming over the PlayStation because it's what you want to talk about. But you're not objective. You're a fucking fanboy, Dreamcastguy. So this fanboyism, it just needs to stop. It's lame, it's played out. Whether or not it's one, you being that way just because you're a personal fanboy, or two, because you're trying to play up and cater to PlayStation fanboys on your YouTube channel. It needs to stop. We need to look at these companies 100% fair and objectively when we report on things like a huge game coming over to a rival system.